fishing friend, my name is JC with Rad Railing Fishing. I am going to teach you how to catch pompano on a jig and teaser. In this video, I'm going to share with you a secret that I have never shared on this channel, guys, yet I promise you it will increase your odds of catching pompano. I'm going to share a lot of tips in this video about catching pompano. I'm going to show you my tackle box. There's something specifically that I do in my tackle box that helps preserve my lures and keeps them lasting longer. You're definitely going to want to see that. I'm going to cover a lot of stuff, guys. Gear. We're going to talk about catching pompano from bridges, catching them from shore, catching them out of a kayak, catching them from a boat. This pretty much is going to be a full comprehensive video on how to catch pompano on a jig and teaser, and I have caught the living bejeebies out of pompano, so let's do it. People are always asking me, where do you get your jigs? I buy my 3/8 ounce jigs from Walmart, and I order the other heavier jigs from Tackle Direct. As far as the teasers, guys, I tie my own. Some tackle shops will sell them, or you can just order them online. I have videos on tying your own teaser. I'll put a link here in this video and also in the description area. Let me show you my tackle box and give you that little tip I was talking about that will help you preserve your jigs better. This is my pompano jig and teaser tackle box. I keep a lot of different ones because I love pompano fishing when they're running. 3/8 ounce, ½ ounce, and 3/4 ounce. The tip I wanted to give you is keep your pompano jigs in small plastic bags. Don't let them just be loose sliding around in your tackle box. The reason I keep them in the bags is because when you're moving around, your lures are moving around, right? If you keep them in the bags, they aren't sliding around hitting each other. What happens if you don't keep them in the bags, your jigs and teasers will actually knock against each other and knock the paint off of your lures. All right, you notice in my tackle box, I have different colored jigs and teasers. My favorite colors: pink and white jig with a bright chartreuse green colored teaser, or a lime green and white jig with an orange teaser. Those are my two favorite colors. One year out at the beach, the pompano were just crushing that green and white jig with the orange teaser. I would try the pink with the green, maybe catch one. I would switch over to the green and white jig with the orange teaser, and I would limit out. It was crazy. So yeah, but different colors combinations, and just switch them up, guys. You might find a color combination that the pompano are very attracted to. The rods I use for jigging for pompano, I get them from Walmart. $22, all graphite rods, stainless steel guides, stainless steel inserts, and they have them in 6.5 foot long and 7 foot long medium power. They work great for pompano jigging because they have the lightweight handle and they're all graphite. You can put whatever size spinning reel on there. I use 4,000 size spinning reels. 10-pound test braided line or 15-pound test braided line. And the leader that you want to use, I like using 25-pound test leader. I'm going to scale down to 20-pound test when the water is really clear and when there's not a lot of ladyfish or Spanish mackerel around. But if there's a ladyfish and Spanish mackerel around, 25-pound test monofilament or fluorocarbon leader is going to be your best choice. It'll keep you from breaking off when those big ladyfish get hooked on there. I personally like to tie a long leader. I tie my leaders as long as my fishing rod is, and I tie the braided line to the leader with a uni to uni knot or an FG knot if I have time when I'm at home. And as far as tying your pompano jig and teaser rigs, I have a video that will show you that. I'll link it here and also in the description area. People are always asking me, JC, where is it that you're catching the pompano? I don't give exact locations. This tip, guys, it's general, but I promise you, you will catch pompano if you just follow what I'm getting ready to share with you. Fall and spring, pompano are always near the major inlets, or they are in the major inlets. Southwest Florida, Gulf of Mexico, whatever connects the Gulf of Mexico to the intercoastal waterway, your pompano are going to be hanging out in that area. They're either going to be in the inlet, they're going to be along the beach, or they're going to be somewhere around the flats and the channels and stuff, but just get around the major inlets, okay? Same thing on the Atlantic coast, right? Where the water flows from the Atlantic into the intercoastal waterways. Get around those areas, guys. You're going to find pompano. The reason is the water is going to be cooler there. It's going to be deeper. And also on your incoming tide, your water is going to be clearer. Pompano like clear water. So here's what you want to do, right? You want to pick a day to go pompano fishing when, let's say, I'm on the west coast of Florida, right? So let's say the Gulf of Mexico is out there. All right. I want to pick a day to go pompano fishing when the wind has been blowing from the east to the west. It's blowing away from the beach and the Gulf area, right? the water is less stirred up when that happens. If the wind is blowing in this direction, right, it's blowing in this way, it's making the waves big on the beach, and it gets the water all stirred up and sandy and murky. So your best days to pompano fish are going to be when you have clear water. So yeah, wind definitely plays a factor in finding pompano. All right, so what other tips can I give you? I can give you a lot of tips. Your jig and your teaser. All right, you're always fishing this lure. You want to be in current. Okay, if you're not in current, then you're just going to be casting it out and you're just going to be bouncing it on the bottom. But when you're fishing in current, let's say the current is moving this direction. Okay, I'm standing up on a bridge, current's moving this way. I want to cast up current and let that jig flow in the current, but I'm bouncing that jig along the bottom, the jig and the teaser. So this is why I have 3/8, ½ ounce, and 3/4 ounce jigs in my tackle box, because the faster the current is, you just make the weight of your jig heavier so that it will stay on the bottom, right? Now, pompano generally are going, your best pompano bite, okay? It's going to be about an hour and a half before and an hour and a half after the tide change, all in that period. So you've got about a 3 to 4 hour window where you're going to catch the most pompano. Really, when that tide starts slowing down, get ready. That's when the pompano bite. Or when that tide begins to speed up, get ready. That's when the pompano bite. Here's something about pompano, okay? You can get out there and you can bounce that jig and bounce that jig and bounce that jig for 3 and 4 hours, and all of a sudden, those pompano will come through and you'll start catching them. Boom, 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 boom. So you have to stay after them, okay? Don't catch a pompano and then just goof around and start talking to your buddy and everybody else for 15 minutes. No, catch that pompano, get him off your hook, and get your lure back down there, because guys, they come in and they, as fast as they come in, they go out. All right, so yeah, don't mess around with pompano. So that's it. Once you get bit by the pompano chasing bug, you're gonna absolutely love it. I mean, it's literally the fish of 10,000 casts. You'll be out there casting forever, all day, and then boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, you have a limit of pompano. Okay, so if you're out around a major inlet along the beach and you're jigging and you're not having any luck catching pompano in the morning, come back in the afternoon or just stay all day and keep jigging. It's so funny. I'll go down to the jetty. Oh yeah, this happens to me at the jetties, right? I'll go down there and I'll jig for pompano in the morning, and the guys that were there the day before in the afternoon, JC, you should have been here yesterday. We were catching them in the afternoon. I won't catch anything in the morning, right? I'll come back in the afternoon or the next day. I'll fish the afternoon, and the guys, JC, you should have been here this morning. The pompano came through in the morning, right? So there's never like a perfectly set time when the pompano come through. I mean, yeah, I love getting up at daylight if the tide is right and get out there and jig for pompano. It's nice and cool in the morning. It's a great time to jig for them, but you'll catch pompano throughout the entire day. All right, here's the way you work that lure. You cast it up the current, right? You let it sink, it hits the bottom. You just give it a twitch. You don't have to jerk it really hard. Just give it a twitch, enough so that that jig just bounces up off the bottom and it hits the bottom. What that action does is it makes it attractive to the pompano. Captain Todd told me that that jig and little teaser fly, that it probably emulates like a little clam or a shell flipping over that's open. And pompano, they like to grab those shells and crush them. They like to eat the little clams that are inside of them. A pompano might think that it's a little shrimp just hopping off of the bottom. They'll eat shrimp. I've caught them on gold spoons before. They might think it's a little sand flea like flipping over in the sand, right? So you don't have to jerk it really hard. There's a very experienced pompano fisherman at the jetties. He's all the time, he's saying people jerk their rods too hard. He said, you scare the fish when you do that. He said, all you have to do is just give it a little light twitch. Just give it some movement so it's attractive to the pompano. All right, so here's a tip that I have never shared on this channel. Cast that jig out, it hits the bottom. The speed of the current, okay? I have probably caught more pompano whenever the speed is about this speed than any other time. And that is, if I've got like a 3/8 ounce jig on there and I jig it on the bottom and I keep my line tight, if I can feel that jig just kind of flipping over along in the current, Oh my gosh, guys, I have caught so many pompano during that time when the current is it's just turned around, starting to move pretty good. If it'll flip that little 3/8 ounce jig over a little, you'll just feel it, man, just on the tip of your rod. Oh, that's like the perfect time to start nailing a bunch of pompano if they come through. So I learned something a couple of years ago when I was fishing at the jetty. Clear water is extremely important. Okay, the water was kind of like all murked up. The wind had been blowing, but there was just one little area where the current was flowing through there. I mean, it was only like 6 feet wide, a little bitty clear spot, guys, where the current was flowing through in the midst of all this turned up sandy water. That's where we were catching the pompano. It was ridiculous. We'd cast it out in that sandy, murky water. We'd bounce our jig, and as soon as it would get up in that little bitty strip of clear water, bam, that's where we were catching the pompano. So even if the water is stirred up, look for that clear area to bounce your jig in. If you're fishing in an area where there's several other pompano fishing, common sense, right? Pay attention to when they cast and when they finish their cast so that you don't get all tangled up in their line. So I did an entire video giving pompano fishing tips for catching pompano from bridges. I'll put a link in the description area of that and also in this video here. But I just want to tell you, if you catch a pompano on the bridge, right? These rods right here, they're pretty lightweight setups, okay? So what you do is you want to take your rod and you want to just point the rod straight down to the water. Once you get the pompano and he's like on top of the water, right? Point your rod straight down in the water and then reel with that rod pointed straight down. Reel that pompano up, and then whenever you get him, you know, like what, maybe 3 or 4 feet from the end of your rod, then you can swing him up on the bridge and your rod will bend, and just do it in a slow, gradual motion. Okay, don't reel the pompano up with a bend in your rod. You're probably going to break your rod. These are graphite rods that I use, and yeah, graphite rods are great because you can really feel the sensitivity of that lure. Like I said, you'll feel it hit the bottom. You'll feel it when it's rolling on the bottom. If you don't keep that jig and teaser right down on the bottom, you're going to catch more ladyfish and more Spanish mackerel. They always run. Ladyfish and Spanish mackerel generally are running when the pompano are running. So you want to try and keep that jig down on the bottom. If you don't, you're going to have a blast catching ladyfish and pompano. I keep a lot of jigs and a lot of teasers on hand in different weights because if I'm fishing at the jetties, right, I'm going to get hung up in the rocks. There's one bridge that I fish here. There's some kind of cable or something down there. I'm forever losing jigs and teasers. Those big Spanish mackerel and big ladyfish, they will definitely break you off. So that's why I have so many jigs and teasers. And if I order from Tackle Direct, right, so that I can get free shipping, I'll order a bunch of tackle. And guys, I've got a whole, I mean, I could pretty much start a tackle store of jigs and teasers. So you can tie the jig and the teaser on with a loop knot. The video that I have that shows you different ways to rig your jig and your teaser is linked here and also in the description area. There's several different ways. Sometimes I will tie a teaser fly up higher. I'll have on the bottom, I'll have the jig and the teaser, and then up here higher on the lure, I'll tie a little teaser. I've done really well catching pompano that way. But yeah, there's several different rigs that you can use for catching pompano with the jig and a teaser. Another tip for catching pompano is move around until you find the fish. Get to an area where you think they are, jig in that spot for a while, move down 50 feet. Jig in that spot, move down 50 feet until you find where the pompano are coming through. Generally, when you find where they're hanging out, that's where you're going to catch them. That day, when you come back the next day and the next day and the next day, for some reason, they might like that little spot right there. I found that to be true at the jetties. I found that to be true when I'm fishing the inlet in my kayak. I found that to be true when I'm fishing bridges and also when I'm fishing along the shore of the beach as well. They like little areas that they like to hang out. But yeah, once you catch them in one spot, you can just hang out there and wait for them to come through. And it's funny because like fishing out at the jetties, when pompano come through, this guy down here will catch one, this guy will catch one, that guy will catch one, the next guy will catch one. And the crazy thing about pompano is sometimes you can be standing 30 feet away from somebody that's over there. He'll be catching pompano and you won't because they like that little area that he's in. He's just down from you. There might be a deep hole there. There might be a little whirlpool down there on the bottom that's stirring up the bottom where they can find food. Who knows? But it's the craziest thing. I have been so frustrated before because the guy right next to me is catching them and I'm not. Yeah, sometimes it can be that specific with pompano. So when I was talking about casting out there and just jigging and then feeling your jig and teaser rolling on the bottom, sometimes I will just cast out there and I'll jig it once, and I'll literally wait like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds before I jig it again. And oftentimes the pompano will pick that up when that thing is rolling on the bottom, because I told you that they like to feed on these clams and they think it's a clam that's open. And that little teaser that's flashing around there looks like the inside of the shell, the goodness, right? And it's just rolling over and over and over, and they will hit it as it's rolling. You don't even have to be jigging it. Click this video right here to tie your own teasers. Click this one right here to rig your jig and teaser different ways. Click this one on how to catch pompano from bridges. And click this one to get some awesome fish catching action in a major inlet. Thanks for watching. See ya.